It's very pleasing to see so many people here tonight. The two books that we're launching are all come from editors who are based at the Centre for Social Change. Many of you will know us. Many of you maybe haven't heard of us yet. Maybe you still know us under our old name of the South African Research Chair in Social Change. We are now the Centre for Social Change. And our Dean, a couple of days ago, actually wrote an article that was talking about the role of research centres. And I just want to read to you what he said, because I think it's actually very important for setting the tone of this evening. When a university establishes a new centre, it is making a statement of intent. It's saying that it perceives a need for more work in that area and it intends to drive that work. And as the Centre for Social Change, we're obviously keen in driving research in the area of progressive social change. And that will be the key theme of the two books that we're launching this evening: Southern Resistance and Critical Perspective and Urban Revolt. And with me this evening we have two of the editors of those two volumes. We have Professor Marcel Paret from the University of Utah. He's also a Senior Research Associate of the Centre of Social Change. And we have Dr. Trevor Ngwane, a Postdoctoral Research Fellow, also based at the Centre. So putting together books like this is obviously a major achievement in the life of any research centre, and a very significant achievement to have two books coming out at the same time. And the launch of these books is obviously very timely, especially when we consider the events of last week, where we saw the protests happening in Eldorado Park and a number of other areas, and I'm sure that will come up in our discussion today. So I'm not going to say much more. I just want to give some words of thanks to all the people who have helped put this together this evening. We must thank the library, obviously, for providing us with this wonderful venue, for helping us with all of the logistics, and particularly to Theodora Medici. She's done an excellent job in assisting us with this launch, so I hope we can all give her a round of applause, please. And also two people from the Centre for Social Change that have been critical in this have been Lucinda Landon and Craig Solomon, who have helped to put together this event. They're sitting at the back hiding, but these things wouldn't come together without their assistance, so I hope we can all give them a round of applause too. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Marcel, who will give us an introduction to Southern Resistance.
Hello. Can you all hear me?
Hello.
Oh, now. Can you hear me now? Okay, I'll try and talk a little louder for you. It's great to see so many of you here. I just arrived on the plane just a few hours ago, so I'm a little bit weary. But what an amazing way to arrive back to South Africa. I've been coming here since 2007, repeatedly on and off. This is one of the most amazing entries I've made to enter a room like this. So many familiar faces, lots of new faces as well. So thank you for this wonderful, wonderful greeting. I also want to thank the library for helping to put this on and helping to share this book with everybody. I want to thank all of you for coming again to this event. I want to acknowledge the authors of this book who are in the room. Of course, Carin, who you just met, and Luke. Where's Luke? He's somewhere around here, I think back there. My co-editors, so thank you to the two of them for helping usher in this project. And then I think I see Eddie and I see Noor. Are there any other authors who I haven't seen? Anyway, thank you to Noor and Eddie for coming and for all of your efforts in order to make this book possible. I also want to thank what is now the Centre for Social Change, as you just learned. They really were sort of the inspiration for this project. When this project came to fruition, I was a postdoc in the center, and it's an amazing place to be a postdoc. Lots of interesting ideas flowing, and this book was one of the things that came out of that. And especially, of course, Lucinda, I'm happy to see you here. Without Lucinda, we wouldn't have made it through all the various things that we achieved. So thank you to Lucinda and to Peter for leading us
on the way. I also want to give a special thank you to my comrade, Shalaka Carin, who's sitting right here with the comments from Tambalushe. Good friends of mine. You're going to hear a lot more about them. I hope that Trevor's going to say some things because they're featured prominently in the book. But Shalaka has been sort of my comrade throughout much of my travels here, and he's taught me a lot, so thank you, Shalaka. Okay, let me try and set the background for this book a little bit so you can understand where it's coming from. Of course, there are lots of chapters in this book. I think 11 chapters total. I'm not going to summarize them all for you. I don't think that would be useful. Then, of course, you wouldn't go get the book yourself. But let me just tell you a little bit about where it's coming from and what it's about. This book emerged in the context of two moments. One was the moment of widespread global protests, which began to spread around the globe. Really after the 2008 financial crisis, but really picking up in 2011. The revolutions in Tunisia and Egypt, which then spread to Europe and the United States in the form of the Occupy movement, sort of changed imaginations all over and really sort of changed the political landscape in the globe. So that was something that was sort of lurking in the background. The other more immediate context was the massacre of Americana. When I returned in 2013 to Johannesburg, these two moments were sort of at the forefront of my mind. I had just spent the previous 2 years actively involved in the Occupy movement in the United States, in Oakland, which deeply shaped my thinking and sort of was a lens through which I saw a lot that was going on here. And then, of course, I was based at the Center for Social Change, which was deeply engaged in issues around Marcel, which, of course, were also reshaping the entire country. To some extent, Marcel seemed prefigured. Right? Marcel was not, in some ways, it came out of nowhere. In other ways, it was a reflection of resistance that had already been building, particularly since 2009. Things seemed to be exploding. So this book is about wrestling with those two moments, thinking about how does South Africa relate to this sort of wave of global protest that was spreading from Egypt to Europe to the United States, back to the Ukraine, Brazil, Turkey, other places. One of the things about that protest wave, which of course got lots of attention throughout the globe, was that people almost never said anything about South Africa. So sitting here in South Africa, being in the Center for Social Change, which devotes much of its time to studying the upsurge in global protests, and everybody who's here, not global protest, local protest in South Africa. It seems ridiculous. How could you have all this discussion about a global protest wave and nothing about South Africa? It seemed absolutely absurd. In fact, much of the discussion, although Egypt is often included in those discussions, they've often focused on the US and Europe, largely to the neglect of lots of the resistance that's going on in the global South, particularly or especially the resistance that is featured in these two books. And I think, Trevor's going to tell you a little bit about the other book, but it gives you a sort of a smattering of struggles that are going on throughout the global South, basically which are largely ignored in discussions of the global protest wave. Right, so that was really one of the inspirations for this book, was thinking about how do we think about South Africa in relation to this global things going on elsewhere. One of the things that I try and do in the introduction to the book is to situate South Africa within the globe. So there's sort of dual projects going on there. One is about telling the rest of the globe what's going on in South Africa. The other is about bringing the globe to South Africa. Right? Thinking about what is South Africa's position within this larger global context. And I trace the sort of development of protests from the 80s into the present in terms of different waves. And you can see to some extent that the waves of protest and resistance in South Africa in some ways reflect and resonate with things that are going on outside, not just in the recent period, but dating back to the 80s and in fact, probably much earlier as well. So the struggles in the 1980s, which eventually brought the collapse of apartheid, can be seen as resonating with various sort of processes that were going on namely the wave of decolonization, which was spreading throughout Africa, the rise of urban protests, particularly in relationship to policies of privatization and austerity, structural adjustment programs, and also as reflecting an upsurge in labor struggles, a sort of new type of unionism, what some people refer to as social movement unionism, which is also spreading in places such as Korea and Brazil. So South Africa was not unique. Maybe what was unique was that all of these things converged in one moment. It's what made the 1980s such an amazing period. But even later, around the 2000s, what are often thought of as the new social movements, the APF, the LPM, Concerned Citizens Forum, those movements also reflected a larger, broader political moment. The anti-globalization was often understood as the anti-globalization movement. And in fact, South Africa was not just reflecting, but contributing to that movement. And in fact, people across the globe often look to South Africa as one of the main examples of that movement. And then what we try and do in the book is relate the more recent wave of global protests to the rise of protests in South Africa from 2009. And we try and pull out some of the similarities and the differences. Of course, there are important similarities in underpinning of rising economic insecurity, which in South Africa often takes the form of unemployment and poverty. An important critique of democracy, something that resonated throughout much of the protests. Certainly it resonated in my experiences in Oakland. And when I got here, people were also offering critiques of democracy, saying, this democracy that you keep talking about is not necessarily delivering the life that we want. We can do better. And then finally, there was a sense of a move beyond the organizations that had traditionally led struggle, right? Not necessarily dispensing with organization altogether, but moving beyond traditional unions and political parties, which had often been at the forefront of struggle, thinking we need to build new ways of organizing. Okay, I think these are all things that link what's going on in South Africa to what has been going on across the globe. Of course, there are important differences as well. In South Africa, it was largely the urban poor and workers who were leading struggles, whereas in much of the protests across the globe, there were discussions about graduates without a future, privileged college graduates who couldn't find jobs. Slightly different from the situation here in South Africa, although I'll say a little bit more about that. Perhaps more importantly, we didn't see in South Africa the rise of central camps, occupations in city centers, huge gatherings that lasted for weeks with hundreds of thousands of people. Instead, South Africa had lots of more localized, disparate, largely disconnected protests. South African protests also seem to be disconnected from the transnational elements of organizing, which of course is so central. You know, when I was in Oakland, we had lots of protests in support of Egypt. We carried banners that said Cairo and Oakland, one fist. One didn't get the same sense that the struggles in South Africa were animated by what was going on abroad. In fact, more likely, they were animated by the struggles of the 80s, the legacy of the anti-apartheid movement. So we're drawing from different sort of symbolic bases there as well. In the book, the first sort of segment contains a dialogue between Michael Buravoy, who discusses sort of the wave of global protests, and Carin, who responds to Buravoy, sort of thinking through to what extent do those elements of protest going on elsewhere resonate in South Africa. So I think those two chapters together are really quite useful for thinking about South Africa within the globe. Of course, sitting here in 2017, I think it's important also to recognize the specificity of that moment that we were wrestling with, and that we are wrestling with in this book, which to some extent has passed. Of course, protest hasn't passed. Protest is continuing every day. It's still exploding in many respects. The situation that we're writing about persists, but we've also seen new developments. Right? This book is largely concerned with the period 2009 to 2014. Of course, 2015, 2016, we saw the emergence of massive student protests, which looked quite different. In fact, they started to look a little bit more like what was going on in other places.
resonated with examples of Chile and Canada, where you saw students rising up and taking to the streets. Of course, more recently, we've also seen widespread, huge protests in relationship to Zuma, which of course also start to look a little bit more like the sorts of protests we have seen elsewhere. So the situation is shifting. Okay, in some respects, perhaps South Africa is moving towards what was going on in other places, but I'm going to leave that as a question. My argument or my plea to you is that understanding what was going on in that 2009 to 2014 period is actually still pretty useful for thinking about what's going on now. And in fact, I think the underpinnings of what you can see now, you can find in that earlier period. Okay, let me move quickly. I think I'm probably running out of time here. The book focuses mainly on community struggles and labor struggles, with an emphasis on the former. We've got case studies of protests in Johannesburg, surrounding Johannesburg, Durban, Cape Town, Buffalo City. And then in terms of labor struggles, we've got Samwu and its history of labor struggles, and also mine workers, particularly the struggle at Amplats, which sometimes isn't given as much attention as the struggles at Longman. Crucially, the book is starting to unpack what does resistance look like in an era when the ANC is beginning to weaken. And that's sort of an underlying theme that runs throughout all the chapters of the book, is trying to wrestle with this particular moment. Okay, so again, I think it's underpinning what we see now. One of the other goals of the book was to think about developing social movement theory. In terms of theory, one of the things that was going on at the time we thought about this volume was that there was a sort of resurgence of interest in Marxism within social movement studies. Okay, scholars were beginning to critique social movement studies for losing sight of capitalism and class struggle. So we were wanting to infuse a little bit of that. And of course, also thinking about what it means to build theory from the global south. So we do this in various ways in the book. One of the key debates that runs through a few of the chapters is a debate around whether Marx or Polanyi are better for understanding the current moments. Of course, Marx saw the point of production as the key site of struggle, whereas Polanyi suggests, no, in fact, it is at the point of exchange, it's in the mode of distribution, where people really feel their exploitation, and it's in conditions of poverty and inability to secure a basic livelihood that give rise to struggle. So there's some debate about that within the chapters, and different authors come down in different places. I will not pull it all out for you. Other authors draw on Gramsci and Gramsci's notion of organic intellectuals to understand the rise of protests, and other chapters draw from the work of Partha Chatterjee, in particular his idea of political society. These are all sort of different strands of theory which are largely building on and operating outside of traditional social movement studies. I think these are all things that, to a certain extent, of course, you could see them in the global north as well, but I think there are probably aspects of the situation here which bring out these theories a little bit more. Okay, let me just conclude with one last point. A final theme in the book is wrestling with the future. So as I was saying before, I think sort of understanding this period, 2009 to 2014, can in fact in many ways help us understand what's going on now. One of the chapters by Tom Lodge and Sean Montier examine this question of whether protest is anti-systemic, whether it's there to challenge the system or reinforce it. Well, they conclude that it's not anti-systemic, but they suggest that there's an underlying commitment to democracy, a deep sort of interest in promoting democracy, which may in fact give rise to more anti-systemic challenges in the future. The final chapter in the book by Noor addresses the tectonic shifts, the splits
in the ruling alliance that began to emerge largely as a result of precisely this protest that we are discussing in the book. This is sort of the beginning of the current period and all its messiness, and of course it is very, very messy, and the outcome is still undetermined. In some ways, I think this book is about the roots of the new moment, which may be a moment of transition. I think it's still too early to tell. Crucially though, in his chapter, Noor points to a preoccupation with organizational realignment. There's a preoccupation with shifting titles and labels and elite alliances. He says, to the neglect or at the expense of building alternative repertoires, politics, and new languages of insurgency. In particular, he suggests we need to build radical democratic organizations at the local level. So I think the book concludes by sort of setting a benchmark against which we can continue to measure the unfolding struggles and the unfolding political dynamics of the day. And on that, I will leave it. I hope you'll check it out. Thank you again.
Thank you for that, Marcel. I think that was a very insightful introduction to many of the key themes that appear in the book. I'll now move on to Dr. Trevor Ngwane, who's going to give us a flavour of what we can find in Urban Revolt.
Yeah. Thank you, Carin. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. It's a great day for us, for myself. Thanks to the library, the publishers, Vice United Press. I must also thank Haymarket, who published another version of the book. Thanks to Peter, head of the Center for Social Change, and all the authors and everyone who put a hand in making this event possible. The title of our book, with Luke Sinwell, Emmanuel Ness, many, is Urban Revolt. And I think that, as Comrade Marcel was saying, definitely there's an urban revolt in South Africa today. In Adale, Eldos, Kliptown, go to Durban, Pietermaritzburg. But it's also happening in the rural towns, Shan. In Msinga, it's a deep rural area in Zululand. There's a Toitol. And in Zulu, when you say wow, you say how. So everyone is surprised, including the protesters themselves. So when they do, they say how, wow. So our book looks at this phenomenon of urban revolt, rural revolt, which is related from a global perspective, focusing on the global south, Latin America, South Asia, and Africa. And the countries covered are, in the book, Brazil, Uruguay, Mexico, Nigeria, South Africa, and India. The perspective adopted by the authors is sympathetic but critical. The authors, especially the editors in the introduction, try to locate the various struggles within a broader political and economic context, along the lines in which Marcel was trying to do. And also, the authors look at the strengths and limitations of these urban social movements. The methodology of the book is different. For example, Mike Davis wrote that wonderful book, Planet of Slums, where he was looking at the proliferation of slums throughout the world. But now his approach, which is quite good, was panoramic. It's like God's view. So he was like mapping it out. Whereas this book has been written mostly by what I can call participant observers, by scholar activists, people who were in one way or the other involved in taking forward those struggles. So there is a lot of detail and what I can call insider information in these chapters. In fact, almost all the authors are scholar activists. So one of the chapters deals with the Ayotzinapa massacre in Mexico, which really was a horrible event. 43 students disappeared. So there was a student uprising like we saw here. So they had their own Fees Must Fall in Mexico. And then 43 of those students disappeared, and then they were found buried in some secret grave. That's the Ayotzinapa massacre, which happened on the 26th of September 2014. So, there's a detailed account of the mobilization after the massacre as the parents and society demanded answers from the government. And some of the information is clear, it's only possible because the writer was so close to the movement. I've got a chapter here, chapter 2, dealing with the Marikana massacre, where 34 workers were shot down, focusing more also on what happens to the workers at the workplace, where they live. Because the workers, they dig the platinum, but they live in slums, they live in shacks. So my point about talking about these two massacres, Ayotzinapa and Marikana, is that perhaps a research methodology adopted by scholar activists might be more accurate, even more objective, and certainly more morally defensible than a positivist keep away and hands-off approach, I'm not involved kind of thing. People are dying, being mowed down, and you want to keep away. So let me speak a bit about the urban revolt in South Africa. So if you look at what's happening in May 2017, we're still in May, in South Africa, there's been lots of protests. And most of these protests are becoming more disruptive, sometimes violent. And the issues are around houses, basic services, but also labor, education, and also what Marcel talked about. Underlying all that is a grievance about the quality of democracy, accountable government, false promises. But as Marcel in fact did pick up, there is a new mood in South Africa. The political atmosphere is highly charged. The call for Zuma to fall, as we know, is being supported across the class spectrum. The middle class, indeed, even the big bosses have joined this call. There is division in the ANC, the stalwarts are greatly concerned. And in fact, there is a possibility that Zuma might fall if that vote of no confidence is passed. That is, if the SACP's 40 MPs vote with the masses. So, now this atmosphere has opened, in my opinion, has opened doors for the masses. The people are feeling they can now push forward with their demands. They want their needs also to be addressed. And the fact that there is this perception that Zuma is corrupt, the ANC government is corrupt, makes it clear to the masses that the argument that there is no money doesn't hold water. So I would say that these two books, the first and second one, come at the right moment when everyone is asking, what's going on? Why are people protesting? Where will it all end? Now I'll touch a bit on approaches to protest, which the book tries to address more concretely. As Marcel was saying, over time, protest, how we understand protest, has changed in South Africa and the world. During apartheid, it was 76, the students, 73, the workers, the Sharpeville massacre before that, the Defiance campaign going back. In the 80s, the era of people's power, of ungovernability. Now, with the new South Africa, some analysts thought that there would be an end to protest because now the government is democratic. Because remember, during apartheid, there was one unifying slogan, one cry, apartheid must go. And that really gave a boost to these various protests taking place. But the protests continued, and some of them earlier, at least, took the form of the new social movements. But later, from about 2004, we have the so-called spontaneous local community protests, what became known as the service delivery protests. So the protests we see in May are mostly those types of protests. Inner Day going off, Revolt Park going off, Ngwane going off, about essentially local issues. And what are the main characteristics of these protests? At the Center for Social Change, we have a research project with Carin, Peter, and other people. I saw KG, I saw some people here, called the Center for Social Change Protest Monitoring Project, where we try and keep up with what's going on, and we maintain a database on all the protests. Certainly, these protests are mostly local, but we disagree that they are service delivery protests because the issues are quite diverse, especially the issue of democracy. The protests, as I said earlier, are increasingly disruptive and even violent. But according to recently acquired police statistics, which actually is a treasure trove, and any researcher doing protests should have a look at those figures. Most of the protests, 80%, are peaceful. And in fact, most of the protests are labor-related. Another thing about the protests, because of their localism, they also tend to be fragmented, not connected to each other. Certainly, they are divorced from organized labor. So there is no cross-pollination between the workplace and the living space. If it happens, it's rare. And I could say they tend to be inward-looking, isolated, sporadic, and there is no real unifying vision, although one can actually, as a researcher, tease out the commonalities. But it doesn't seem to be part of the agents of the protesters. Now, these protests are happening also in other parts of the world. Certainly, our book confines itself to the global south. But, as Marcel pointed out, also in the global north, there are protests. So, the broader context is the crisis of capitalism, the global economic order. So, you find governments refusing or claiming they are unable to provide basic services for all. But the amazing thing is that this failure to provide basic services for all is happening exactly at a time when all of humanity is increasingly demanding, mobilizing, and expecting that these needs should be fulfilled. The idea of democracy is thoroughly connected with the idea that a mass have access to the basic services. So, water, electricity, a proper house, these things are no longer viewed as the privilege of the middle class. Everyone must have it. It's no longer something which must happen only in the West, the advanced countries. In the South, in the third world, everyone wants a better life. So I would say the whole of humanity demands the satisfaction of these needs. So this raises a democratic question. What is happening, therefore, is that democracy, liberal democracy, certainly from the point of view of trade unions, left parties, social democracy is in crisis. So the people are saying, what is democracy about if we can't get these basic needs fulfilled? So this is the era we're living in, where bourgeois democracy is in crisis. Now, when I talk about trade unions, I immediately talk about social democracy, because trade unions, at least in the West, they were part of the kind of social contract where workers were told, hey, slow down, don't protest, we'll provide you with the social wage. But now the bosses are taking the social wage, therefore there is this protest. I won't go chapter by chapter, but just to mention that since we are focusing on slum dwellers, it is also true that, David Harvey's theory of the right to the city is relevant. So people might live in Tembelihle in the shacks, but they also want to be part of the economic life, the political life, the social life of Johannesburg, of the country. So this is happening everywhere, in India, in Brazil, in Uruguay. Now, let me talk a bit about the limitations of these urban social movements, because as scholar activists, we don't just study, okay, we praise and glorify and elevate, but we are also critical to try and help these movements to reach their goals. We all know that a good friend is the one who will tell you when you are a bit getting out of order. Okay. So, I think that in South Africa, what I can see is that there is no real coherent political leadership at the head of these protests. There is no unifying vision. And indeed, there is no overriding common explanation of why the people are suffering. So this is a real intellectual, theoretical, and political crisis. And all the repeated explanations, excuses, promises have one thing, so that I would say a kind of tipping point is being reached by the masses. So there is that mood of frustration, of anger. Let's do something now. Another thing is that the issues and the methods which the protesters are taking up are also in themselves fragmented. In my opinion, the target, during apartheid, the target was, apartheid. The target no longer follows clear class lines. So you find that one community might be protesting and blaming another community for not getting houses. In Mamelodi, I heard that some people are marching against illegal electricity connections, which is amazing because that's what we promote, Operation Khanyisa. So there's that confusion. Of course, there's the ANC, DA, Democratic Alliance, Dynamic, also the EFF in the pot, levels of government, contradicting each other. We find now race dynamics like Eldo's inner Dale, so-called colored areas, and then the Minister of Police, taking advantage of this because it's colored, there's drug lords, etc., etc. But I would say that with all this going on, there is turmoil but no center of authority. There is movement but no clear direction as to where we are heading to. And then and you can see the protests are separate from labor. Certainly they are separate from COSATU, and SAFTU is too new. The newly launched South African Federation of Trade Unions is too new to say whether they will embrace community struggles, but we are working towards that. Comrade Francesco. Yeah, and Lorenza there. Yeah. So, most importantly, if organized labor is not part or not supporting these protests, it's hard to talk of a working class movement. It's even harder to talk of a working class politics, because a working class politics is defined by when the working class see themselves as the solution to the crisis, when they think that they should create a new society where workers take over and create a better and new society. So there is no such vision. Of course, this vision was trampled by the Communist Party, SACP, by the class collaboration of the trade unions, working too close with the ANC bourgeois government, and so on and so forth. So this is a real crisis because when workers don't see themselves and each other as a solution, then there is no collective solution. And even when they seem to be moving together as a community or as a group, if you look more closely, it's a collective individualism. It's my group, not your group. So that's why we find things like xenophobia, chauvinism, ethnic politics, provincialism, etc., etc. This is because when the collective is stripped of solidarity, then the result is an accumulation of competitive individualisms, everyone competing with the next one. So, and the worst part is that with the crisis of capitalism, government lose credibility. So people start to think governments cannot deliver. We know in South Africa that the government still gives social grants, but there is no real hope that, the ANC government will make things better. So this creates a new problem, say, combined with the failure of the trade unions to defend the working class. So you find that ordinary people, ordinary workers, employed and unemployed, they start to lose hope, and more importantly, they start to lose trust. So we don't trust the government. We don't trust the ANC. We don't trust COSATU. We don't trust politicians. So when that happens, there is no real way forward, because that mistrust gets diffused so that even the guy next door, the community next door, does not deserve to be trusted. This means solidarity is totally undermined and eaten away. And there can be no way forward without solidarity. So I would say that, therefore, the solution is that we have to revisit, revive, and rebuild that vision that together we can fight and make it better. The idea that an alternative is possible. So I think that these two books put together illuminate some of the points I've raised, because we try, although it's specific cases, but we don't really agree that each space cannot link up with the other. Post-colonial theory says the South cannot really unite with the North. We do want universalist solutions where the whole working class, the whole world can fight together for a new world. So I'll end up with a question. Because I said earlier, the urban revolt suggests that we are reaching a tipping point, at least in South Africa. So my question is, what lies beyond the tipping point? In South Africa, is it the fall of the ANC and then the opposition forming a coalition government? Or is it NUMSA, SAFTU forming a workers' party and reviving the strike for socialism? Is it a revolution, or will it be war of all against all? Amandla.